Okay, now looking at page 443, number 7C. This one's a little tricky for me, but I notice the biggest thing is that the coordinate plane is in units of 2. So it moved right 2 units. It moved up 4 units. So that's an h of 2 and a k of 4 based on the horizontal and vertical asymptote. And then the point that should have been 1 unit up and 1 unit over should have been here, but I don't really have a reference point. So if I go 2 over, it would have been at a half, which is actually a quarter as big as this square. So then I would need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times upwards to get an a value of 8. So y equals 8 over x minus 2 plus 4 is my guess at the equation, but I'm going to use Desmos to check this one out. Okay, so when I punch it in, y equals 8 over x minus 2 plus 4, it looks very similar. I can see the asymptotes. Sometimes if you want to see the asymptotes a little better, you could punch in what they're equal to as lines. And then for the x one, you could say x equals 2. And that'll give you a better view of the asymptotes. And then another thing I do is if I hit the settings button, I can get to this table of values. I punched in, I want to know where 4 was, and I got 8, and that's this point there. And if I look at my textbook graph, there's also that point. So I can double check points using Desmos. So I got it right. And now for D. So this one is, if I look at where the vertical asymptote is, I get a k value of -6 because the y-axis is in 2 units. The x-axis is in 1 units. I would make this illegal if I could, but I move right 1 unit. And then my a value here, if I can imagine the point that was 1 unit away, but it would have been here at in the middle of these dots because the y-axis is only at a half. To get to this point down here, I would have had to move 4 times bigger. And then also this thing's been rotated about the x-axis. So it's a -4 for my a value. So my equation should be y equals -4 over x minus 1 minus 6. And then using Desmos to check it out, I punched it in, and it looks like I get all my points to line up. My -10 and +2, my -2 and 0, and then I did my x equals 1 for the vertical asymptote and y equals -6 for the horizontal asymptote. So I think the trickiest part of those ones was the fact that they just messed with the scale of the x and y axis. But if you can figure them out, you're doing well.